The year is 1470. Amid the rugged heights of Thessaly, a bell tolls its final echo across a valley destined to fall silent forever. Within the convent of St. Catherine, 23 women kneel in devotion. Their lips shape familiar words spoken each dawn for years. Yet today, those words carry a different weight. Like ashes, like farewell. Beyond the stone enclosure, the horizon glows crimson, not from dawn, but from the standards of an empire that has already devoured entire realms. The Ottoman forces do not march. They surge like a tide of iron and flame, obliterating everything in their advance. Sister Eleni, the abbess, grips a silver crucifix passed down through 3 generations. Her hands shake, yet not from dread. She knows what approaches. They all do. What they cannot foresee, what no one could envision, is that death would have been compassion. Because what ensued was not chronicled in any textbook you studied. It was concealed, expunged, concealed beneath ages of quiet until recent discoveries. What the Ottomans imposed on these women transcended conquest. It was far more deliberate, something scholars are only now beginning to reveal. The issue is not whether you can bear the reality, it is whether you are prepared to preserve it. If you have ever pondered why certain narratives vanish from the record while others endure repeatedly, you are in the proper place. Here at Mythic Chronicles of Old, we delve into the repositories the world overlooked. Missionary correspondence, Ottoman administrative documents, testimonies concealed in Vatican depositories. Every view, every like, every subscription aids us in retrieving one additional voice from oblivion. Now, let us return to that convent, for the bell has ceased and the doors are about to yield. To comprehend what befell these nuns, one must grasp the mechanism that devoured them. 17 years prior, in 1453, Constantinople collapsed. The crown jewel of Christendom, a city enduring over a millennium, vanished in 53 days of cannonade and carnage. The Hagia Sophia, once Christendom's grandest cathedral, was stripped of its crosses within hours of capture. Its mosaics were plastered, its bells melted. Within days, the call to prayer resounded from its domes where hymns had echoed for 9 centuries. Sultan Mehmed II stood in the nave of that ancient sanctuary and proclaimed it a mosque. Not for need of another place of worship, but because he comprehended what most conquerors overlook. You do not vanquish a people by slaying them. You vanquish them by effacing their essence. The Ottomans did not merely seize territory, they seized identity. When Mehmed gazed westward toward the fragmented remnants of Byzantium, he perceived wounds that refused to close. Every church bell that continued ringing, every monastery that endured, every cross casting shadows on subjugated ground. These were declarations of resistance, evidence that the ancient order refused extinction. And every nun who persisted in Latin prayer represented a living testament that belief could outlast armies. Thus the Sultan resolved, if they will not embrace conversion, they will vanish. Not through massacre. Massacre produces martyrs. Martyrs fuel defiance. Ballads are composed. Narratives are recounted. The deceased achieve immortality. No, the Ottomans mastered something far more refined, something that yielded no ballads, no narratives, no remembrance. Oblivion. By 1470, this method had been refined across the empire. Greek monasteries in Morea, Serbian convents in the Balkans, Armenian sanctuaries in Anatolia. They did not incinerate them all. Some were converted, others abandoned. Yet the pattern remained consistent. First came the proposition, then came silence. The convent of St. Catherine, perched on a hillside in Thessaly, distant from any garrison or ally, was destined to become another experiment, another marginal note in an empire's expansion. Yet these women did not realize they were marginal notes. They were not combatants. They were women who had devoted their existence to silence and devotion. Their arms were rosaries. Their armor was conviction. Most had never beheld a soldier, never wielded a blade, never contemplated the necessity. Sister Eleni had served as abbess for 12 years. Prior to that, she tended the ill in a village that no longer existed, consumed by plague in 1448. She entered the convent not to flee the world, but to comprehend it. Sister Magdalena was 19. She had professed her vows only 2 years earlier. Her palms still bore calluses from her father's fields. She joined after her family perished in a raid. The convent became the sole sanctuary she had known since. Sister Theodorus was 70. She had outlived 2 abbesses, an emperor, and more conflicts than she could recall. She had ceased fearing death decades earlier. Yet none had confronted this. Should this historical instant fail to compel you to delve deeper, you may overlook the lesson our forebears perished to impart: that the gravest act against power is refusing to forget your identity. Now witness what occurs when belief encounters empire. The initial cannon shot strikes shortly after dawn. It misses the chapel. It strikes the bell tower. The noise is cataclysmic. Stone erupts skyward. Iron screams against iron. The bell that tolled every morning for 140 years shatters mid-peal, fragments cascading into the courtyard where the sisters cultivated healing herbs. The same hands that nurtured those plants now cover their ears, trembling. Sister Eleni does not cry out. She rises, crucifix aloft, and begins to chant, Kyrie eleison, Lord have mercy. One by one the others join, 23 voices rising against the empire's roar. Yet empires do not heed chants. By midday, the gates are forced. Ottoman soldiers flood the courtyard, not with drawn blades, with ledgers, quills, ink. They move through the convent like clerks, not conquerors, enumerating, documenting, inventorying. For to the Ottomans, these women are not individuals, they are property. An Ottoman translator advances, a Greek who once dwelt in these hills. His voice quavers as he reads from a scroll, shame embedded in every syllable. By decree of Sultan Mehmed II, all subjects of subjugated lands must submit to the sublime authority. Those who embrace conversion shall receive protection. Those who refuse shall face rebellion's consequences. Sister Eleni steps forward, her expression serene, almost tranquil. She addresses not the soldiers but the translator in Greek so clear all comprehend. Inform your Sultan, we have already pledged our lives to a greater sovereign. We possess nothing further to yield. The commanding officer, Hassan Pasha, his name recorded in Ottoman military logs from the 1470 Thessalian campaign, responds not with rage. He responds with something far more chilling, a smile. Because he comprehends what the nuns have not yet grasped. The Ottomans have perfected the art of shattering individuals without slaying them. That night, the women are confined within their own chapel. No sustenance, no water, merely darkness and the sound of soldiers outside, laughing, feasting, existing, while they await who yields first. 2 younger sisters from Corinth begin weeping in the corner. Their sobs reverberate off the stone. Yet Sister Magdalena, scarcely 20, begins to murmur a psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Then another, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil." Then another, and gradually the weeping ceases. This is the instant the Ottomans miscalculated. These women had spent their lives preparing for affliction, fasting, nocturnal vigils in cold, prolonged silence, submission to something transcendent. What soldiers viewed as torment, the nuns perceived as routine discipline. Yet Hassan Pasha is patient. He has witnessed this previously, in Morea, in Wallachia, in ruined Serbian monasteries where monks believed faith would preserve them. "Faith resembles a candle," he once noted in a letter to the Sultan, still preserved in Topkapi Palace archives. "It burns most brightly just before extinction." He is about to test that assertion. On the second day, the doors open. A servant brings bread and water, genuine food, pure water. He places it down silently and departs. The nuns stare at it, their throats parched, stomachs empty. The younger ones glance toward Eleni, desperation in their eyes. Sister Theodorus, the eldest, speaks first. "They wish us to accept it, to feel gratitude, to weaken." Eleni nods. "Then we continue fasting." They do not touch the provisions. By the third day, their lips crack and bleed, their hands tremble. The younger sisters can scarcely stand, yet they do not yield. Hassan Pasha observes from the courtyard, arms folded. He is impressed, frustrated, and perhaps momentarily something akin to respect crosses his features. Yet respect alters no strategy. On the third day, the doors open once more. This time, it is not a servant. It is Hassan himself. He speaks in Turkish, the translator trailing like a shadow. "You are not criminals. You are not foes. You are merely misguided. The Sultan is merciful. He offers new lives, new names, protection. All you must do is utter the words." Silence. "Or accompany us to Constantinople. There the Sultan himself shall hear your case. Perhaps your conviction will move him." He pauses, allowing the words to settle. Yet the journey is long, and the frail do not endure it. It is not a threat, it is a certainty. Sister Eleni regards her sisters. Some are scarcely conscious, some pray with closed eyes, some stare at the floor seeking strength in stone. She turns to Hassan. "We shall walk." His smile returns. "Excellent. We depart at dawn." That night the nuns embrace in darkness. No one speaks, yet Sister Magdalena begins humming, a hymn from Vespers. One by one the others join. Outside the soldiers hear it. Some pause, some look away. One, years later, will recount to his grandson the women who sang themselves to death. Yet that tale will be forgotten too. For now, the hymn rises through chapel fissures and drifts into night. A prayer, a plea, a declaration. We persist. They depart at dawn on the fourth day. 23 women, wrists bound with rope, walking southward toward the coast. No wagons, no mounts, merely their feet, dust, and unrelenting sun. The soldiers do not hasten them. They need not. The road itself is the penalty. By the second day, Sister Irene collapses. She is 62. Her knees have weakened for years. She attempts to rise, but her legs refuse. The soldiers do not wait. Sister Magdalena and another nun, Sister Anna, lift her between them and carry her 3 miles further. When they halt for night, Irene is unconscious. By morning, she is gone. They inter her roadside with bare hands. No tools, no rite, merely earth and murmured prayers. The soldiers observe. They do not interfere. Hassan Pasha notes in his ledger, 22 remaining. On the fourth day, it recurs. Sister Callista, silent since the siege, simply halts. She sits mid-road, closes her eyes, and does not rise. They leave her. By arrival at Volos port 7 days later, only 18 survive. Yet something transpired on that road, something the Ottomans failed to foresee. The nuns ceased weeping, ceased pleading. They walked in silence, yet it was not silence of defeat. It was silence of women who had already chosen. Sister Eleni walked at the column's head, leading even with bound wrists. But on the 7th morning, Hassan Pasha summons her. She is brought to his tent alone. What transpires next is not detailed in Ottoman records. It appears in a letter from a Venetian merchant who witnessed the aftermath, a letter uncovered in 2003 in Dubrovnik archives. He writes, "I beheld them return her at dawn. She could not walk. Her eyes, God forgive me, were open, yet she was absent within them. They clothed her in silk and displayed her through camp as a convert. Yet when I passed near, I heard her lips moving. She prayed in Latin, silently. She had not yielded. They had merely taken her body and left her soul adrift." This is the Ottoman method history conceals. They sought no martyrs. Martyrs inspire resistance. Ballads are composed. Narratives are recounted. The dead become saints. They desired specters, women who would walk, speak, eat, breathe, yet never be complete again. Living proof that defiance was futile, living admonitions to any who believed faith could resist empire. Sister Eleni walked the remainder to the coast, yet she never spoke again, never met anyone's gaze. She existed, yet was absent. The younger sisters wept upon seeing her. The elder ones prayed more fervently. At Volos port they are loaded onto a galley, a massive warship with rows of benches and chains bolted to timber. This is no passenger vessel. It is a craft designed for control. Slaves, captives, cargo. The nuns are secured to benches, wrists locked to iron rings. A ship's manifest discovered in 1987 in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace Museum lists them not by name, but by number. Religious captives, female, 18. Destination, imperial household. Purpose, domestic service and conversion. That term service carries heavy implication. The voyage endures 12 days. The sea is merciless. Storms batter the deck. Salt spray stings cracked lips. The vessel pitches and rolls. Women who had never beheld ocean retch until nothing remains. At night, the youngest, Sister Magdalena, whispers psalms beneath her breath, her voice faint, nearly inaudible over crashing waves. Yet other prisoners, Greeks, Serbs, Italians, men and women chained beside them, turn to listen. For a moment, the sea seems to calm. When the vessel finally enters the Bosphorus, Constantinople's skyline rises before them. Domes, minarets, walls stretching eternally. The city gleams in dawnlight like a blade. For centuries called the city of the world's desire, now it becomes their prison. From the docks they march through narrow streets lined with merchants, soldiers, slaves. People pause to stare. Christian nuns among captives are uncommon, even in an empire built on conquest. Unusual. They are led past ancient walls, through imperial quarters, past gardens where fountains murmur and peacocks cry, then into shadow of Hagia Sophia, the great church now a mosque. They are forced to halt, to kneel.
As the call to prayer echoes from minarets, one sister whispers, "We are home, yet it is no longer ours." They are taken to the palace, yet not to grand halls, not to courtyards where ambassadors stroll and viziers scheme. They are taken downward, stone steps spiraling into darkness, tunnels reeking of damp and decay, to a place that does not officially exist. If you remain watching, it is because part of you recognizes this narrative must be recounted. Subscribe to mythic chronicles of old, not for us, for them, for voices swallowed by silence. Now follow them into darkness.
Beneath Topkapi Palace lies a tunnel network tourists never see. Storerooms, servant quarters, forgotten passages winding through bedrock like veins. And in the farthest corner, sealed for centuries, a chamber with no official function. In 2011, during restoration, archaeologists breached a false wall. What they discovered halted them. Scratched into stone, barely visible, were crosses, dozens, crude, carved with fingernails or pottery shards. And beneath those crosses, etched in Latin, 4 words, Lux in tenebris lucet. The light shines in the darkness. This was their chapel. For months, perhaps years, these women dwelled beneath the palace, laboring as silent servants by day, scrubbing floors, laundering linens, tending fires for chambers they would never enter. Yet at night, when the palace slept, they gathered in this concealed room and prayed. They possessed no priest, no altar, no scriptures, merely memory. They recited psalms from recollection, verses half forgotten, reshaped into prayers that sustained them. They chanted hymns in whispers so faint the stones scarcely captured them. They held communion with bread pilfered from kitchens and water from palace wells. And they carved their faith into stone, one scratch at a time, knowing none would ever behold it. Sister Magdalena was among them, the girl who whispered psalms aboard the ship, who carried Sister Irene along the road, who refused to look away when they returned Sister Eleni in silk. She became their voice in darkness. Archaeologists found her mark too, a small bird etched into the wall's corner. Beside it, 23 lines, one for each sister, but only 11 complete. The rest trailed into nothingness. They used broken pottery for candle holders, linen scraps for altar cloths. From a shattered mirror shard, they fashioned a crude cross. In this secret chapel, they convened each night after the palace slept. No hymns, no sermons, only whispers. Each woman knelt and shared a memory, her home, her church bell, the warmth of dawn bread. These memories became their new psalms, small offerings to a deity who still listened in darkness. A Venetian prisoner held in the palace for ransom in 1478 wrote of strange voices echoing beneath the harem, women singing in Latin to a god not of this empire. For centuries, historians dismissed it as folklore, foolish beliefs of uneducated servants. Yet the walls do not deceive. In 2011, when archaeologists examined the chapel closely, they discovered something else. Traces of wax, not from Ottoman candles, but older, blended with herbs, the kind nuns crafted in convents, which means they maintained vigil far longer than imagined. Months, perhaps years, carving crosses, whispering prayers, refusing to vanish. Sister Magdalena's bird was the final mark on the wall. Beside it, scratched so faintly it nearly vanished, 2 words in Greek: "We endure." Yet the truth is more poignant. They did not merely endure. They left something empires could not erase,
a room filled with crosses, a prayer etched in stone, proof that belief could survive where walls and chains failed. The Ottoman Empire endured until 1922, 6 centuries of conquest and dominion. Yet ultimately, it was those wall scratches that survived. Not the Sultan's decrees, not Hassan Pasha's ledgers, not the silk they forced Sister Eleni to wear. Merely 4 Latin words carved by women the world forgot. Lux in tenebris lucet. The light shines in the darkness. It derives from John's Gospel, a verse concerning light that cannot be quenched, truth that persists even when all else is stripped. Sister Magdalena carved those words, knowing she would never depart that palace, knowing her name would be forgotten, knowing the world would proceed without her. Yet she carved them regardless, because she understood what empires never comprehend. You can conquer territory, you can rewrite history, you can expunge names from ledgers and bury bodies in unmarked graves. Yet you cannot extinguish what people carry within, and you cannot silence what they etch into stone. You have just witnessed one of history's darkest realities. If narratives like this remind you how fragile humanity is, how easily voices can be erased, then subscribe to mythic chronicles of old and preserve the past, because some voices merit hearing, even if silenced centuries ago, especially then. The nuns of St. Catherine were intended to vanish. That was the design. Erase them, shatter them, transform them into specters or converts or marginal notes in Ottoman ledgers. Yet they did not vanish. They persist in those crosses, in that Latin phrase, in the chapel archaeologists uncovered 5 centuries later. And now they persist with you, because you listened, because you remembered, because you refused to let their silence be final. Lux in tenebris lucet. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it.